Hey everyone, today I'm going to take a look at HyDE or HyDE. HyDE is a Hyprland Desktop Environment, and I think that's actually what it stands for. It is mentioned on the website here, the last collaborator standing, that the phonetics is either related to Hyprland Dots Enhanced or Hyprland Desktop Environment. Actually, that's kind of where I'm leaning, especially since we have the case here with the lowercase y, which seems to suggest to me that HY would be Hyperland and then DE desktop environment. And so I'm just going to kind of go with that. The pronunciation, I think, is a little bit subjective. You could call it HYDE, you could call it HyDE or HyDE. So, yeah, I think I'm going to probably go with HyDE, but the Hyperland desktop environment are actually essentially enhanced dot files. This is an installer script that you can run after you install Arch Linux. And I did a setup myself on a minimal Arch install, and then I ran the HyDE script here. And here we can see the HyDE logo, and it's really fascinating desktop environment. In fact, this is such an easy way to get a beautifully done for you Hyperland desktop environment. And as a bonus for me, it's also optimized for developing. I already went ahead and ran the installer, and the installer script is very easy to run. The complete instructions are here on the website. It only really prompted me, I think, 2 or 3 times, if I remember right. And even here, it gives instructions on how to update if you want to do updates in the future. So very simple. You could even pop that into a bash script and you're good to go. And then you get a little preview of all these cool different styles here. Really nice. And then over on the next page, we got the message from King, who is, as he says, the last standing collaborator. And so he gave some comments here on the project as well. Here it's got a little flow chart here where it shows you the defaults and how you can override these defaults, which is quite simple. Basically, you want to kind of be in the hyper folder, but I will guide you through that too, because if we want to play around with the Waybar a little bit, there's areas where we can go and we'll just kind of walk through that. So let's take a closer look at this. So this is the bare desktop environment here. This is what you see once you run the script. Like I said, I ran this right from a fresh install of Arch, a minimal install, but it does say on the website that you can run this right from an existing Arch install like CachyOS or Endeavor and so forth. And it even has a list in there of different Arch distros that are, I suppose, recommended. So yes, you can do it that way, but they do go on to caution you that it may modify some of your configs in there. And so to be aware of that. And that's kind of why I went ahead and just did a minimal Arch install and ran it from there. And everything seemed to be fine, except that I don't believe I had the Waybar installed. So I had to install that separately. And so I don't know if maybe that was something I missed along the way, or if that was something I should have done to begin with. But anyways, easy peasy, installed Waybar, and I was good to go. So here I am. This is my environment. And actually the background is different. I had a different background by default originally. I was playing around with this a little bit before I started recording, and I inadvertently changed the background. I forgot how I did that. I think I was up in here somewhere. Just to be a little bit more consistent, I'll just go back to my original background. I think I changed my background by changing my theme because I changed the theme there, I think. If I were to go back to my original theme, I could probably go in here, and this is our theme selector. And I'll kind of go into that a little bit more as we go into this, but originally I was here in this theme right here, I believe. And that's a really cool background, actually. I like that, actually. But anyway, aside from liking that, let's take a look at our Waybar real quick. So our Waybar is set up here. Starting on the left-hand side, we got our CPU and memory usage up here showing. And then we got our idle inhibitor, which I like to have on. They call it caffeine mode here. So I'm going to turn that on so we don't go into idle. I'll probably disable idle anyway because I don't really like the screen locking feature on any desktop. And then if we hover over our clock, we got a calendar. And so that's kind of showing us the month. And then if we click on it, it'll change our clock here to display the date as well. And if I right click, we expand our calendar to show all 12 months. So that is pretty cool too. I like the way the calendar is done here. Very nice. And then in the center, we got our workspaces displaying here. And then if we come over farther, we got our backlight level, which I got set at 52% right now because my monitor gets pretty bright if it's not. And then we got our network widget here showing our network settings. And then we got our volume control, built-in audio. And so I can roll my mouse here or I can use my keyboard and increment it in increments of 5, which for me is a little high. So I'm going to probably change that later. I'd rather see that go in increments of 2. And then here we got our microphone settings updater. So here it's showing that there's 2 updates available from the official repos and then 2 from the Flatpaks. When I did an install, it installed a lot of Flatpak apps, including VS Code. It might have been Codium, I'm not sure. And then a few other things, quite a few other things. I just can't remember off the top of my head, but I think GIMP was in there and some other things. Yeah, really nice variety of stuff, which we'll check out in a bit. And then we got our keybinds. So if we click on this, it'll open up a cheat sheet and show us all the keybinds that we have in here. And when you add keybinds in the keybinds comp file, they'll automatically be added into this keybinding list here. So they update dynamically as you add to them. So that I think is really cool. And then we got these cool things like we got a theme switcher. We can just switch the bar quickly by clicking on it. We got our clipboard history and then more hide options. And then finally we got our logout menu or our power menu. So, and that's really beautifully done too, like the animations and everything in there. So let's take a real quick look at our theme switcher. When we click on it, it'll automatically switch our theme. And it went to a light theme here. Click on it again. It adds in another random theme. This is a switcher. It'll just switch. To actually choose your theme, you got to go in the menu, which I'll show you. But here it'll put in randomly switching themes. And I like that background. That's pretty cool. I'm going to kind of go with that. Then here, if we switch bar, it'll just like, I think, randomly choose a Waybar theme and switch it. And by chance, it looks like it put it on the same one. Actually, no, it does look a little different. So yeah, so you can randomly switch themes there as well. Now, if you want to choose, of course, you can right click on this little burger menu and right click. And then you got all these options for animations, wallpaper, your themes, of course. Since we're on themes, if I go in here and select theme, you can see a lot of different choices. So you got Rose Pine, which we're on now, and then Tokyo Night. That's kind of where I ended up before. Material Sakura, Graphic Mono, Decay Green, Edge Runner. So you got all these different ones. And so if I just select one like Edge Runner, then you can see we get a different background and then different coloring up here, like on our workspaces, which is kind of cool. I like that. It gives it a nicer contrast. So that's kind of cool. So that's our theme. Let's jump back up and just kind of start up on the top here. Here we can select our animations. So if I go in here and select animation, then we can go into different animation types. For example, right now it's on Ya, and I think I might have inadvertently put that there. I don't think that was the default, but if I switch, for example, workspaces, you get this sideways animation, and of course, opening and closing windows. Over here on Workspace 1, I got a couple windows open. So if I pop over here, I got my terminal and my Dolphin file manager. That's the other cool thing. Here, the terminal, during install, they give you an option where you can choose from either Fish or ZSH. And I chose ZSH because I don't really like Fish. But I was pleasantly surprised to see the way the terminal was laid out, and it puts in a random graphic up here in the upper left corner. And I think that's really cool. Every time I open the terminal or if I run fast fetch, it'll put a different graphic up there. It'll choose something random, typically like an anime type graphic. And so I like that. That is a really nice touch. So anyway, back here to animation. If I were to change this animation, like maybe like Diablo 2 and hit that, then your animations change. So now like if I go into a different workspace, it's going to move vertically instead of scrolling horizontally. And so that's different. And probably how you open and close windows too. Like if I were to close that, it kind of does that. And if I were to open it back up, it kind of does that. And if I change my animation, then the animation might be a little bit different there. And I can see that my background changed as well here because of the change in the theming that I did earlier. So now it updated inside Dolphin to reflect that, which is pretty cool. So those are animations. And I guess I'm just going to go back to Ya there. You got fast animations if you like them going fast and all that. So I'm liking it. That's cool. And then next on this cool menu is our wallpaper. So here, again, you can go next, previous, or just select a random wallpaper, or you can go up here and select it. If I want to change my wallpaper, and I'm just going to go to workspace 6 real quick, just so we can see the wallpaper. And if I jump in here and select, then here I got all kinds of different wallpapers that I can choose from. So I can pop over here, and I'm not sure how many we got. I think these wallpapers, if I remember right, are actually available by theme. So if I wanted something totally different, then I could just change my theme, I suppose. Or I could add wallpaper any number of different ways, really. But I think this is kind of cool. Just out of curiosity, I'm going to change my theme and just see if the wallpaper changes, just for fun. So let's pop over here, maybe back to Rose Pine. And as you can see, the wallpaper changed. Now I'm kind of curious to see if the wallpaper actually changes here in our selection, out of curiosity, and it does. So yeah, the wallpaper seems to be kind of tailored to your theme. So probably for the color scheming. So the color scheme is always kind of complementary to the theme. The wallpaper is complementary to each other, which is very cool. I like that. And these are actually really nice wallpapers. And then you got some anime selections in here. And so, yeah, I don't know. That's a tough choice. I like a lot of these. So there's someone standing in the land of mushrooms. And you can see our background color now changed here. Very nice. Every time you change a theme, you're going to get like a different set of wallpapers to choose from in this selector here. So I like that. That is really cool. And like Tokyo Night, a lot of people say they like the Tokyo Night or the Tokyo Night. That's a theme that I went to before. I just thought it had a cool background. I like the highlighting in here as well. Didn't really check out the wallpaper though. So I'm just going to take a quick look here. Here I can see the wallpaper has some GIF files in it. So we got JPEGs and GIFs. These are kind of labeled here. I didn't notice it labeled before. That cat one's kind of cool. Wow. Beautiful colors. I like that. And the GIF file has got me a little curious. I'm wondering why that's a GIF file. Is that animated maybe? Probably not, but it's kind of interesting that it's a GIF file. Let's load that in, and it is animated. Wow, you can see the neon sign going there, and how cool is that? There's a pleasant surprise. I gotta look at some more of those. Let's see. Any other? There's another GIF file. So it's got like 2 GIFs in here in this theme. Cool. Wow, nice. I like it. People walking by, cars going on, snowflakes dropping. Very cool. I like it. What a pleasant surprise. I can see why people like this. I've heard a little bit about the HyDE or HyDE desktop, and very, very cool. Nice. So I guess I'll just jump back to Rose Pine here for now. Just so I don't keep distracting myself. And then we'll pop up in here and let's jump over to the Waybar. So Waybar is our next one in line here. So I can go in here and select a Waybar layout. So it looks like it's on HyperDots 2 right now, but you could like change it to HyperDots 1. And here you got your selector still in the middle. This kind of looks like the default where I was before. I'm assuming was a default, but you can go in here and just kind of go right down the line and just see different layouts here and see what appeals to you. Now we got our workspaces over here and this guy in the middle, which not really sure what that does, but it looks cool anyway. But clicking on it doesn't really do anything for me. And then, yes, we could just keep on going down. And I think I'll just kind of select something random here. So I'll jump down here and just like maybe pick 8. See what that goes. Yeah, hey, I can go with that. That's got the clock in the middle. I like that in the middle. And this is cool. It's got the selector of our open apps. Well, actually, that's our workspaces, but it's got them designated now by icons of the open app. And then this workspace here doesn't have anything open, so it's got a default music label here with an icon. So very cool. I am liking that. And I think I saw in one of the examples that there's actually a Waybar layout that shows the weather on here as well. The weather app. So I might put that in there just so I can kind of tweak that here so you can know how to tweak that, but I just don't know where it is. Let's try 6. And I got lucky. There it is. Okay, so here's our weather app. And it looks like by default it's pointing to a place called Liberal in the United States and 28 centigrade. So wherever it is, it's a little warm, but not roasting hot. Liberal, I think, is like a town in Kansas, maybe. Could be wrong, but it's not where I'm at. So yes, this is perfect. Then I can tweak that. I already got the different config files open. Over here, your default hide files are in your home folder .local/lib.hide. And here we got a bunch of different scripts in here. These are our different scripts for things like our weather app. And I think our volume control might be in here as well. Right here, volume control. So I'm going to tweak that as well because I want to have increments of 2 on my volume and not 5 because 5 is too much for my taste. And Waybar will change, or not Waybar, but our weather PY here will change that so it matches our location. We'll change it to Fahrenheit and good stuff like that. And so I got these files opened up here in Genie right now. And our theme conf kind of automatically updates. This is something I had open, I was kind of exploring, but that's in our .config/hyper folder, hyper/themes. So I can go ahead and close that. That kind of changes dynamically. Here we got our hide.conf file, and that's in the .config/hyper/hide.conf. So this is a copy of the default hide file, which is in our .local file. So if you want to make changes to your hide conf, you want to do user changes here in the hyper folder. And then that way, when you update your script, you won't lose your changes. So that's kind of nice. For example, if you want to change your variable, for example, our browser variable, for example, would be Firefox. But if you have something else installed like Brave or Chrome or something, you can go in here and uncomment this and then just change Firefox to Chrome. And then your default browser will automatically become Chrome. And again, that's in your .config/hyper folder. Here's our weather. So I guess we'll just start with that since that one's the next in line here. And in our weather.py file, I'm scrolled down a ways into the file. Let's take a look here. Somewhere around, here we go, get location. So that's up here somewhere, right here. So here is our location, and you can see that the location argument is blank. So for whatever reason, it's detecting my location as somewhere called Liberal, which I think was in Kansas. So I'm just going to add in a location here. Some random town called Niceville in some random state called Florida. And then we'll just come up here. In addition to the location, I want to change our temperature unit. So up here around line 184, we're going to change this C here to F for Fahrenheit. So it looks like C is the default. And then I'm just going to press Control S to save. And there was one other thing I wanted to change. Up here, I want to get rid of the United States of America. Not literally, but it's taken up too much room. So I'm okay with the location though. So I just wanted to show the temperature and then the location, which I can see it just dynamically updated. That's pretty cool. So now I just wanted to get rid of that. Somewhere down here, it should show the location and the city. Here it is, right here around line 254. So here we got get city and then get country. So I'm going to just get rid of the get country. I see all this is in quotes, so I'm going to comment the get country part out using a hashtag. But we need this quote here, so I'm going to come back over before the comment and I'm going to put a quote there. And then you can see now that it's commented out properly. And I think that's going to fix everything. So I'm going to press Control S again to save. And then I'm going to hit on the right-hand side of my keyboard, Alt Control, and that'll turn off the Waybar. And then if I hit Alt Control again, it'll come back on. And again, Alt Control is on the right-hand side of the keyboard, not the left hand. And that's where you would turn off your Waybar and turn it back on to reload it. And now you can see that the weather is 79 degrees Fahrenheit. And showing our town, Niceville. I guess I don't need the comma in there either, so I'm going to just take out the comma here in the config file, and then just refresh it again. Alt Control, right Alt Control again. And now we can see the comma is gone. So there we go. Nice. I'm liking it. What can we do next? Let's tweak this clock here now that we got this. And the clock, actually the overall look, I think the fonts are a little small for my taste. They're actually kind of hard to see, a little too tiny. So I want to actually make those bigger. And the way we can do that is to go into our Waybar folder. So if we're over here and we go into our home folder and then our .config folder here, and then Waybar. So there should be a Waybar right here. So in Waybar, we got a CSS file called user-style. And so here we can add our own custom styling in this. And again, that's a safe file that's not going to get changed if we update our script here. I got that open already here in Genie. And like I said, that's in our .config/Waybar/ and then user-style.css. So first thing I want to do is I want to make my global fonts bigger here on the Waybar. So to do that, I'm just going to type star, and the star is just like for everything. And then I'm going to enclose two braces here. So I got an opening brace and then a closing brace, and then going to come back up and then add some CSS code. And I think I'll move my brace over a little too. And then here I'm just going to type in font size, then colon, and then, I don't know, let's try maybe 12 pixels, and then semicolon. Then I'm going to press Control S to save. And there it instantly got bigger. And that actually looks a lot better. I like that. 12 is actually pretty good. You could even tweak it more if you want. Like I could try 14 just for fun. And that's even better. That's pretty comfortable, I think. Yeah, I kind of like 14. That works for me. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to turn on my caffeine mode here. And so that's kind of cool. I like that. I also kind of like my clock in the middle. So I'm going to pop back over here and just jump into my Waybar layout and just pick something, 7, close. I think I was on 8 before, wasn't I? So just for fun, let's just jump into 8. And there's my clock in the middle. With my clock in the middle, I kind of want to enhance that a little bit too. I just put it in the middle so it's a little easier to see right now because we can focus on it easier. So what I want to do is, first of all, I want to make the fonts bold on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to designate the clock, and we can do that by creating a hashtag for, and then clock, an opening and close brace. And so this is going to allow us to style for the clock. And so under clock, I'm going to do font weight, and we want to do a colon, and then I'm just going to type in bold, and then semicolon, press Control S, and now we got a bold font. Nice. And turn on caffeine mode there. Now let's give it a kind of a background color. I want the numbers to have a different background color, so I don't know. Let's see, if I remember right, if I press Super Shift P, I should be able to get my color picker. And there it is. So now I can just like pick a color from somewhere. Like maybe I could do yellow, maybe this blue, or you can just write something in there like pink or red or something. Whatever floats your boat. But let's see what that is. I'm going to just pick that color, go down to the next line here, and I'm just going to type color. And then Control V to paste in what we just picked. And then semicolon. And now Control S to save. And now you can see our clock color changed. Nice. I like it. Suppose you wanted to show seconds up there just for fun. Well, all we got to do is go into our clock JSON-C, and that's located in our .local/share/waybar/modules. And we could go in here actually, and then under format, where we have our %M, M is for minutes, I could add seconds in here by doing a colon and then %S. And then if I Control S, it'll show us our seconds, but it won't really move. So let's do that. Control S. So what we want to do instead, oh wait, that's supposed to be a %. Okay, there we go. So %S. Now it'll display our seconds, but that won't move. So let's do that. Control S to save. So %S. Okay, and so once we got our %S to show seconds, then we just go and advance to the next line. Then I want, in quotes here, I want to type in interval, because by default, it's only going to advance your seconds every 60 seconds. That's not helpful. So what I want to do is change the seconds every second. So interval in quotes, then a colon, and then I want to do a space and then type 1, and then a comma. And now if I press Control S, it should display our seconds and change every 1 second. But we got to update our waybar. So on the right-hand side of the keyboard, press Alt-Control, and then Alt-Control again. And there we got our clock displaying seconds. Wahoo! So if you like having seconds up there, that's how you can do that. Easy peasy. And then if you get tired of seconds, just do the reverse. Get rid of interval and get rid of %S, colon %S. So there we go. We got our clock tweaked. Onward and upward. Is there anything else I want to tweak up here? Oh, actually, there is another thing. The volume control. So here's my volume control script, and that's located in our .local/lib/hide/volumecontrol.sh. And so I can come into here, and if we go scroll down around line 159, we got this variable, step variable here, the volume_steps, and the number here is 5 by default. So we can change that to whatever you want. 1, 2, 29. I'm going to make it 2. So I'm going to change that variable to 2, Control S to save. And now if I hit my volume keys, the volume increments in increments of 2, which is nice. except I don't really want it to increment in an odd number. That's odd. So I'm going to go back here and change it back to 5. Save it. And now I'm going to increment down to an even number. So now we got 20 there. And then I'm going to change it back to 2. Save it. And now when I increment, it increments in 2 and goes to an even number. Nice. So there we go. Volume control fixed. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. Where did I leave off? Workflows. So let's see what workflows is. Select workflows. Okay. So let's click on that. And right by default, we're in default, but I still don't know what it is. So let's go to editing. So here's editing, and I just happen to be editing. So if I hit that, oh, I can see my background went dark there. Workflow, best for writing. Ah, okay, so what it did was it turned off the transparency, so it's more optimized for editing. Cool, I like that. So back here, there's no transparency in my terminal now, none here. Of course, the transparency is not that obvious with my wallpaper because the wallpaper's not real bright anyway. But if I had a brighter wallpaper, you'd probably see that that was a bit more obvious. So if I just hit like some random wallpaper, it's not too bright. But anyway, neither am I. So here we are. Let's jump back into our workflow again. So this workflow actually kind of tailors this for what you're doing here. So here we got a gaming workflow. I'm thinking gaming probably is going to turn off all kinds of stuff so it frees up your GPU. Actually, it took out the rounded corners. Wow, interesting. Let's change. Yeah, the animations are turned off as well. So when I change different workspaces, there's no animation in between. Very cool. Turned off the transparency. So gaming really has got you optimized just for gaming, and I like it. That's kind of cool. Okay, so that's what workflows is. That's really nice. I like how you got these presets here, and then we got a snappy workflow, which I'm assuming is snappy? Snappy desktop. Very cool. So we got our transparency back and no animations, so that's probably the snappy part. You're using less resources because the animations are turned off. Also, your rounded edges are turned off, so you're saving on resources there as well. Very nice. And then the last one I didn't check was Power Saver, and not really sure what that does, but it says over here, disables all animations and effects and all that other good stuff. So yeah, it looks like it kind of similar to gaming, I suppose. I'm liking it. So those are workflows. And I think I'm just going to jump back by default, but I really like the editing mode too. That's very cool because in this case, the transparency really doesn't bother me that much, but there are times when I don't like the transparency. The blur is so nice in this setup that it doesn't bother me at all, especially with that background. But there are times, and so it's really nice to be able to just dynamically turn that off quickly. And sometimes they put the blur in the browser too, which can be mildly annoying sometimes depending on your background. So now I know I can just go in here and flip my workflow to editing or something else, gaming. Nice. Then we got shaders. Let's see what shaders is. So we'll hit select shaders and scroll down. OLED. I think that's like for LED monitor. But then we got vibrance. Let's see what that is. And wow, it changed the background shading here and did make it more vibrant. Cool. I like it. Wow, that's really vibrant. I guess because it's showing the background. So it made our background more vibrant as well. So that's really interesting. So we got a blue light filter. Probably filters out the blue light, and it does. Nice. Wow, that's really kind of like an automatic night light effect. So I like that. That's comfortable at night. Shaders, Wabash, not sure what that is. I kind of looked like it went to a different kind of tint there, something more subtle. Grayscale. Nice. So you can live back in the 1940s when everything was black and white. Wow. How cool is that? Now you know what it looked like back then. Nobody could see colors. Don't believe me? Just look at the old movies. There's your proof. All right. So yeah, grayscale. That's kind of cool. I guess if you were totally colorblind, maybe this is like what the world looks like anyway. But that is interesting. Shaders. So another nice feature I didn't know existed. Color vision. Looks nice. Like the color. Looks nice there. So that is cool. And I guess for the sake of the video here, I'll just pop back to, I don't know where it was actually. I think it was disabled by default. So I think I'll just go back there to keep things kosher. And then here we got our keybindings shortcut again. So in here we got quick access to like how to close a window, super Q, Alt F4, close a window is another alternate way to do it. Then we got our super delete to kill the Hyprland session. Nice. Toggle floating, super W. That's good to know. All right. Super G to toggle a group, which I'm not really sure what that is. Ah, okay. So, right, it's showing our group items here, I guess, like in this case, our terminal and our Dolphin file manager. So, yeah, that kind of gives me a little rough idea of what that is. Nice. And I hit it again to toggle it off. Toggle full screen is Shift F11. Super L to lock screen. So a ton of stuff. And it looks like these are categorized as well. So here we got change focus. So here's our focusing super left, super right to focus right and left on your windows. Resize. Nice. Miscellaneous. Which here I got Alt Z for my pause on my OBS Studio. One thing I really like about Hyprland is they got a solution for global shortcuts for windows that aren't focused. So right now I can pause and unpause even though I'm not in the OBS Studio workspace. So that is really nice. I love having the pass command there. And just in case you're curious, I'm going to hit Super A here, and that'll open up my Rofi menu. We wanted to look at this anyway, right? So this is our Rofi menu. And I'm just going to go ahead and open Genie back up again. It looks like Genie is still open. So yeah, I don't know what I did. I must have changed workspaces or something before. But let's jump into keybindings. So over here in our home.config/hyper, we have a file called keybindings.conf. And if we go in here, we got all our different keybindings here. And again, very nicely laid out. I had to uncomment terminal here to get our kitty going. I'm not sure why, but I uncommented that. So if for some reason your terminal doesn't open up using your super T, then just try uncommenting it here in the keybinds and then it should work. So scrolling down here, I added this in. This is grab hotkeys from OBS Studio when it's not focused. And so here I'm using a bind equals Alt, comma, Z. So Alt Z is my hotkeys here to pause and unpause. And then we got this pass. This allows it to pass the key binding to different workspaces or anywhere that's beyond the focus window. And then our class, which here in this case would be com/.obsproject/.studio. So the dots are escaped there inside this regex expression. Grabbing hotkeys. In case you didn't know how to do that, that's how you do it. And I'll just kind of make that bigger so it's easier to see. So there you go for that. And then, of course, all this stuff was already in here. I didn't have to mess with anything. And then I added a few things of my own under our apps. So if you scroll down farther, screen capture, super shift P is our color picker, and then Super P will capture a section of your screen, which is really nice. Easy peasy to capture. That's something I think is very cool. But here we got our launcher here for our apps. This is where you got your apps designated. And I added a few things in here, like for our web browser here. I added this in here, Workspace 2, because I wanted to open up in Workspace 2 by default. Actually, if I put a semicolon there, that'll make it even more reliable. But you can kind of imply these workspaces. And then over here, this $D, this D variable, is a variable for a description. And so this actually, when you write your description in here, will be denoted in your key bindings. So when you come up here under key bindings and under apps, and even this Alt Z, but if I were to put a description in there, that description would have shown up in there. So here we got web browser, so there's our description, and that's pulling that right from here. So if I change that to my web browser, then it would change in your key binding thingy. That's nice to be able to have in there. And then we got our OBS Studio, and I got set to open up in Workspace 5 automatically. So that's another thing I wanted to just automatically open there in Workspace 5. Very cool. And then here in our audio, I noticed on some Hyprland configurations, if you press like your audio keys to increment up and down, or you roll your mouse, sometimes on some installs, when you press your key, your audio will just skip. So instead of moving in increments of 2 or whatever you have it designated as, it'll go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. It'll just keep going ba 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 when you just hit one key, which is really annoying. It's not doing it in this. So that's one thing I really like about this, is that it doesn't do that. But I've seen that in other ones. And in other configs, if you happen to run into that issue, or even in this one, I found that you can solve that issue by going down here, XF86 audio lower and audio raise. And here you can see that it's bind DDEL. And sometimes there'll be bind DD, and that causes the problem. Typically with the EL in here, you should be fine. If you're still having issues, you can just take that out and just make it bind by itself. And that should solve that problem once and for all if you're still having that issue. Just a little bit of FYI there, in case you were annoyed by that like I was. So yes, key bindings. So that's another big deal, of course. And then here we got our Hyprland conf. This is actually the default conf located in .local, share, hide, and then Hyprland conf. And this is the one you don't want to edit. This has got all the defaults. Now where we were before, that's where you can edit, is your hide conf, which is in your .config/hyper/hide.conf. And here you can safely make the changes, and you can see that it's basically a replica of your Hyprland conf, your default. So if you edit this default, then it's going to change whenever you do an update, and you're going to lose all your changes. So that's good advice. Do not edit. So there we go. I think those are all the dot files that I wanted to go into. Here we got our config.json. This is our config waybar. And this actually changes every time you change your theme. So that's a dynamically changing, I think, sim-linked file here. I just kind of got that open so you can see it. User style, again, you can go in here and you can just tweak to your heart's content. The clock is one example, but if you wanted to tweak something else, like maybe you're in a different theme and you're using the workspaces and you want your workspaces, maybe the numbers a different size, you can just adjust that in here. Or with anything else, your power button, you could make that blue or red. The user style is really nice, and hopefully this will be a nice little head start for you. Really like the whole setup here. It's just a really beautiful environment. Again, I changed my theme around, so I'm a little lost at the moment. But I think I'm going to go back to that one wallpaper that I liked before, this burning cherry. I think that's really cool. And so I think this would be a nice wallpaper here just to kind of end this off and give me my 2 cents on this. And HYDE, hide, or HyDE, however you want to pronounce it. This is really one of the coolest scripts I've come across. Not only is it all done for you, sets up so easy to set up, but it's really lightweight. It feels very light. There's nothing heavy about it. It was easy peasy to install, and it even added in all kinds of software for me. In fact, I might as well just open this guy up real quick as I'm doing my 2 cents. But here you can see you got easy access to your Rofi menu, Super A, and then by default it installed the script. And of course the script does ask you during the install if you want to install these applications, so you can opt not to install them if you wish. However, I chose to do that, and these are all flat packs. And so it installed OBS Studio for me, it installed Genie, Code, so I was already set up in my environment, which I thought was great. Then we got GNOME boxes, which I love it. That's our virtualization environment, so easy peasy to set up. I didn't even have to worry about setting up Vert Manager and all that. Done for me. Managed printing, I did that myself. I installed cups, sudo pacman -s cups. And I also installed HP Lip for my HP printing management as well. I also installed KeyPass myself. Blender was installed in the setup, along with Clapper, our Bluetooth manager. It installed Dolphin by default. Electron is set up for you. Nice. Eye of GNOME for our image viewer. Firefox by default. I installed Florp or Florp, whatever you want to call it. Flatseal was installed for me. That was part of the flat pack deal. This was installed automatically. GIMP, which I always use. Inkscape, all done for me. Beautiful. I think it was. Impression, yes. Kitty, Krita, Kevanta Manager, our different settings utility. All this stuff. Upscaler, if you want to upscale your files. Done for me. Video downloader, nice for downloading YouTube videos. And I believe that's the GUI front end, actually. So how cool is that? Volume control, warehouse, I'm not even sure what that is. We got WebCord, which I guess is like a web app for Discord, maybe? I don't know. And then XGP, S, and S-Speed. I'm just going to open up warehouse real quick, just for fun. Looks like a warehouse. It's got all our packages in here, so we can get a quick look at our packages. We can open them, uninstall them from here. So a really nice management suite, it looks like. That is nice. I like it. Got our remote repos in here, App Center, Fedora, GNOME Nightly, WebKit. Wow. So this is pretty cool. Do snapshots, and we can install packages visually from here. Very nice, right from FlatHub even. So how cool is that? A new app that I didn't know about. Loving it. This is actually one of the best environment Hyprland scripts that I've seen. And I've played around with a lot of them, but for simplicity and just overall coolness, I like this. It's really easy to manage. It was really easy to install, and really kick butt utilities here. I just love these animations, wallpaper, theme selector, changing my Waybar on the fly, workflows. Wow. Preset, shaders, and then easy access to my Keybindings. And then of course we got our about. Everything for you. If you're the type of person that is curious about Hyprland and you always kind of wanted to try it, but you really didn't want to take the time or even have the desire to want to have to mess with a config file and build it from scratch, maybe that's a chore for you. Some people love that, but other people don't. And me, I just don't want to take the time for all that. I'd rather just have a config file I can work with and build from there. And so this does it for you. This just works. This will give you a working desktop environment under Hyprland that just plain works. It's got everything installed that I use. I couldn't ask for anything more. This is just the ideal thing. So would I recommend this? 100%. If you always wanted to try Hyprland, or if you just want a change of scenery on your Hyprland install, give this a shot. Maybe try it out on a spare laptop first if you're not sure, and then go for it. Take the plunge. I dare you. And with that, I hope all this rambling and reviewing was helpful, and if it was, don't forget to leave that thumbs up. And hit subscribe while you're at it. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.